I'm Kat. Thank you for joining me for a chat with Kat. We're going on a journey and having conversations with people from a variety of backgrounds and experiences. And during this journey, we're going to probably laugh and smile. We'll have moments of compassion and cry. We may be angry or feel confronted, and we may be amazed and just need to ponder. So, whatever the emotion is that comes up, let's take a moment to breathe and ask ourselves why we're feeling this. And also, let's ask, what can I learn from this? So go ahead and like, share, subscribe to this, and make sure that your friends and family and colleagues and anyone you feel could get something from this gets to see this. So let's get on with our journey with Chat with Kat. Oh, hi, Lou-Trice. Nice to see you.
Great to see you in the land of paradise.
Yeah. Land of paradise in Mexico. I'm so glad that you're here. And I know we do know each other, I guess just through Self-Perfected, but I don't know if we've actually met at an event or not. So,
Not yet, but hopefully in the near future.
okay. Well, let's make a goal for next year.
Let's do it.
All right. So, since I don't know that much about you, and I know people who come and join us are not going to probably know anything about you, tell us a little bit about who you are and what.
Yes. So my name is Lou-Trice Stembridge. I hail from right outside of Houston, Texas. And I lived here most of my life, but I also went to school. I went to school in North Carolina. I went to school in California. And I would say one thing that's pivotal about my story. Before I get there, I'm married. I have 2 kids. One thing that's pivotal about my story is I always grew up feeling privileged and wanting to share my privilege with everyone, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And through my journey, to the point where I actually went to school to learn about it. So when I was in California, I went to school to literally learn how to basically eradicate poverty in a large degree. Um, and it's really cool now learning about self-perfected because at the end of my schooling journey, right, I learned basically that much more how the system is not in everyone's favor.
Mm.
And really, it brought me back to what I didn't want, which is each man for himself and good luck, pretty much. And that was pretty much my disheartened belief or thought process until learning about self-perfected and meeting the community and really learning, oh, we can really make the world better for everyone. Um, and within that, we all have a role, and everything that we do every day affects that outcome. So, like I said, born in Houston, or right outside of Houston, went to school in North Carolina, then I went to graduate school in California, and now I'm married with 2 kids and doing what I've really been looking to do my whole life, which is how do we change the world? I'm learning now it starts at home. And
Mm.
so I'm a stay-at-home wife and mom, and I really do see how, as a mom and a wife, we really are changing the future of where our world, not just our country and our home, but our world is going.
Mm. Wow. So, I mean, how do you see that? Because I think for some people, they're just going like, "You're crazy! Like, how are you changing the world?"
Right, right. Absolutely. Well, when you look at it on an individual, starting with an individual basis and then, getting to your family. So, for example, it really does start at home where we learn communication skills, how to deal with conflict. We learn, can we do something? We learn what mindset do we have when we look at the world? Do we look at it from a perspective of considering everyone or being selfish and you just got to protect you and your family and it's just that. And a lot of that, that selfishness really it starts at home. And I can say my parents didn't mean harm, but they did say, this is how the world works. And because of that lack of education piece, they said, pretty much I was taught, if you don't do these things, you won't be accepted in the world. And ultimately that can mean no money, that means no food, no survival, right? But if we're actually learning, hey, there is another way, we can consider all things, all people, basically on the most basic level. So I have really young kids. It's giving as we want to receive. So, if my 2-year-old or 4-year-old is hitting the other one, hey, would you want to be hit? And that basic but difficult but difficult lesson is one that if all of us are doing, will we have war? Will we have poverty? Will we have, food that doesn't benefit us? Will we have shots that don't benefit us? Will we have medicine that doesn't benefit us? If we can take that again, seemingly small but very impactful lesson, and each family is learning that and teaching that, then and also along with conflict management and how do we deal with our emotions, right? So many things. This morning I was reading about another school shooting. Well, we're not learning how to deal with our emotions. That's a huge thing that's not being taught. But if we're learning that at school, then I mean, we're learning that at home because it won't be taught at school, obviously. Then those are things that really will, family by family, person by person, individually change the world. So it is a long-term vision. That's why it's not crazy when you think about it from that perspective.
Okay. That makes sense. And you're right about being able to manage the emotions, right? And I don't even know if it's so much controlling the emotions, but it's being able to not let your emotions overrule your life, right? Like you can say, okay, I can be happy and joyful and I can feel sad, but you don't have to let that run every program that you do, right?
Absolutely. Yes, it's knowing, okay, I am sad. What's a healthy way to get rid of it? So, with a 2 and a 4-year-old, maybe they are hitting, hitting the pillow, and that's okay versus, suppressing that emotion. And then when they get older, a lot of times what we see is, then we're anxious or we get into a lot of alcohol and drugs, or, we just we avoid things just because we weren't taught how to, help in a healthy way express it. And then, okay, now we're calm. Okay, let's talk about what happened with the other person. Those, it seems basic, but really those are a lot of things that we're not all supported with.
Mm, right. Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point, to being able to be taught how to do it, and what a healthy way is as well, right? Like you said, with a 4-year-old hitting a pillow, that's much healthier than them going out and hitting a person.
Right, right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And also within that, I'm learning, and this is again, this I'm newer to this, but I'm learning even the idea of self-forgiveness. How much do we hold on to things and we don't forgive ourselves? So then it's like a ball that grows in us. And the bigger it grows, if we don't have a healthy view of self, right?
Mhm,
Then I'm definitely not treating other people well because I don't view myself as worthy, right? And how all those things, even at a young age, we can start learning them, and how much easier for our kids and the next generation it will be, because they'll know, oh, I can forgive myself. There's nothing. Actually, I'm learning there's nothing more powerful than self forgiveness, because that when we forgive ourselves, it's so much easier to forgive other people because we're like, oh, I've done that. So literally, Kat, like this has transformed me in so many ways. So, for example, as a mom, I'm always telling our kids, I am sorry for yelling. I'll tell them that. And I tell them in a way of, let's be self-honest. And also we can learn from this because I'm going to work to correct this behavior. So yeah, we could talk about that for like a whole nother 5 hours probably, but yes, self-forgiveness is very powerful.
awesome. And you mentioned that you're fairly new to this. So what got you into this world? Um,
Yes, yes. So, like I said, so after going to graduate school, I got married, we had kids, and on a very big scale, what I noticed is kids just aren't impressing me. Like on a this is not anything personal from what I know, but on a very like I said, we have the school shootings. I noticed, with even I went to some of the best schools. Some may say I wasn't. The world was not going in a trajectory that was comfortable, for lack of better words. So within that, I've always known as parents, we're going to have to do something different. I never knew what the different was, but I knew it would have to be different. So long story short, I come home, I meet Mayor or Mahir, who you've also had on this channel, and he introduced me to a tool that we use in the community called TechnoTutor to use with our kids, and how that literally helps to create kid geniuses. And I said, "Oh, this is what I'm looking for." So that's literally what got me introduced to Self Perfected, and that's how I'm here. I wanted to make sure that our kids were well prepared and equipped for the world, especially where I know AI is coming and things are very different even than I don't think I'm that old, but things are very different than even when I was a kid.
Hmm. Oh yeah. I mean, for me, there's things are much different. But I actually almost took a picture yesterday to send to people just because there's a payphone outside of the phone and internet place. And they actually have but you use a credit card, right? But I was like, I should just take a picture of this and send this to people, but like, 'cause they'll blow their mind. Like, what is this? It's like, yes, it's called a payphone, and in Mexico, we still use them. Like, not, I mean, I wouldn't say we use them. They're there. Everybody here has a cell phone, even a smartphone, because they can get like really cheap ones, right? Not like iPhones, but they can get cheap smartphones, right? So, but I just laugh. I was like, oh my gosh, I should take a picture because no one knows what that is.
Please send it to me. I want to teach our girls like, hey, look how much technology has changed. You're
I
so
will.
right. It's true.
I will. Next time I go by, I have to go by probably sometime this week to deal with something. So let me remember to take a picture. And it's funny because they've got two there. One without the like it's just the box, but no payphone in it, and then one like almost next to it with the payphone in it.
Oh, that's too funny.
So yeah. Oh my gosh. So that's amazing that you decided that, oh, I want to get something to help my kids really, be successful when this world of change and AI and everything like this, and that you started like getting into it as well. I don't think a lot of parents are really doing that. Like they want the best for their kids, but then they somehow think like, well, if I'm going to have my kids do this, I'm not going to do it. I don't need to.
Yeah, that's and Kat, really and truly, that's a big thought in our society, right? Lack of understanding parenting, for lack of better words, because really and truly, there's a saying, right? Monkey see, monkey do.
Hmm.
That's really how kids are. If we want to help our kids, really, it starts with us. But it makes sense, right? Because that is such a prevalent thought in society, it makes sense to we as parents will do anything for our kids. So when we ultimately learn, oh, we need to change, then that's the second layer, right? But yeah, ultimately our kids won't be any better than we are. And that is a very humbling experience because it really causes one to sit back and be more mindful of not
Hmm.
just what we're saying, but literally who we are. you know? It doesn't matter what we tell our kids. If I say don't steal, but they see me steal, then
Right.
steal. But for some reason in our miseducated society, we think differently. And that just shows you where we are and how much growth we have within the realm of changing the world?
Yeah. And I think people forget that they have such a huge impact on the kids, especially when they're little, right? Because it's like what the first 5 or 7 years is where they like absorb everything from their environment. So
Everything. Yeah. Seriously, it's yeah. And one of the coolest things about this process is learning that we can question our thoughts. So, for me, for example, what's something that was normal? It was normal. It was really normalized to be selfish and just think about my family and I. That's a very normal thought. And
Mhm.
now as an adult, it's cool to be able to say, "Hey, self, is that really is that giving as I want to receive? Is that best?" And being able to share that, with our kids. So when they get as they're growing up and learning, they know I can question my thoughts, and decide who I am and direct myself. So that is such a cool. I never thought about that until
Mhm.
again showing. I never thought about that as an adult until recently, until this process. So that's so cool. We can really be the change you want to see. We've always heard that, but really living that out, can't describe it. It's great.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible, right? That you actually can take those words that you've heard for so long and actually start living them.
Yes, yes. They're not high in the sky. They're like, be very practical about it, right?
Mhm.
So a few things, for example, yesterday we went fishing. The girls have been saying for a while, we want to learn how to fish, and I've always wanted to as well, but I've never done it. And as you get older, things can be scarier. But I found a group. I said we're gonna go do it, and we did it. It was so fun. We're gonna continue to do it. So
Good.
yeah, being flexible, learning.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, yeah, you're right. When you're getting older and you try new things, it does get scarier. But I think what I've noticed lately is that because of using the tools, it's just like I can actually look at something and go, yeah, I've never done that before, and that's kind of scary, but let's go, let's try it.
Exactly. Hey, I don't know if you have this too, Kat, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not pleased with the results I have. So what do I have to lose? Why not?
Right. I mean, if you're already in a place that you don't like anyways, like why not do something to try to change it, right?
Exactly. Exactly. It doesn't make any sense to do the same thing, right? That's the
Right.
definition of crazy,
Insanity.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. You wonder why you ended up in the rubber room with the because you kept doing the same things over and over again. You just keep bouncing off and doing the same thing over again. Like it's you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it's true. It's so true. And so,
wow.
and within that, that's why it's so cool. Um, because a lot of people here who are here within self perfect. Oh, this is the best group, and it truly is because you're going to be stretched and grown, but again, not from a selfishness perspective, but from a perspective of what's like giving as you want to receive. It's no longer just that confined, your family, but it really can expand to include everyone. And
Mm.
that's the coolest thing to me.
Wow. Um, and when you're talking about including everyone, like how is this with your children? And I guess they have a community now with them?
Yes, yes. So we have a pretty big community here within the Houston area. And even watching them grow up with the other kids that are around their age, I mean, it's amazing to be able to have, and because of the tool, right? Because of Techno Tutor, we can have these I have these conversations every day with our kids, and that world awareness. We talk not just with my kids, but with all the kids in the community. We're always talking about, hey, 10,000 kids die every day of just no food, and that's a real thing. Like when we have a world where we really come together and we can talk about how do we solve this.
Mhm.
That that's very powerful, but it's something that we really can do. Like look, like you were saying, we have our cell phones now, and we can, information at the touch of a hand. That's a really real thing, or we really can't figure like as much time as we spend figuring out how much money, what we can do to make money, which is a huge thing in our world, right?
Mm.
Everyone has the survival point. Why is it not that we can't come together and talk about, hey, how do we solve world hunger? Like in like a very real versus, we only hear like two two ways the world can be, but why? It's really expanding our thought process and education.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's interesting when we've been having this conversation lately in the community and about being able to be supportive of each other, and how really the difference starts with us, right? Like it starts with ourselves, and then it starts in our community. But just the abundance that we have when we talk about our community, like when you start talking to people and maybe they're homesteading, and then like I was talking to Sandro, and he said that they had a milk cow, and they actually had so much milk that even his large family, because he has what, 6 kids or 7 kids, so him and his wife and their kids, they could not consume the amount of milk that this cow was producing every day, right? And then they were trying to give it away and make cheese and do all this stuff, and they actually said he had to dry out the cow because he said it was just too much, right? And so you think about that, like we just have such an abundance. Like if we could just start like, hey, I've got all the chickens and you've got all the dairy, and you know, like we could just be solving so many problems right there, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I think that there's a story that that's been mentioned a lot recently, which is when we go to hell, basically, everyone's sitting around with their
Mm.
fork, like their small fork, eating food for themselves. When we go to heaven, everyone's basically like using their fork to help everyone else to get their food and sharing the food. And yeah, I mean, we have such abundance here, but
Mm.
we're taught that there's not enough. Like we're the scary mindset, right? This fear-based mindset. And when we don't have that, when we understand actually reality, that's
Right.
really we're talking about reality, then and where our food comes from. Those are things I'm learning myself and helping, you know, teach our kids. We really can, things can be different. Things can be very different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, you just mentioned something, and I don't know if a lot of people caught it. You just said something about the fear mindset and reality being different.
Yes, I mean we really do. The more I'm studying things, like we really do have enough resources to feed everyone. I mean, how much do we, like you're saying, even in our own personal lives, we don't use all the things that we have. And when we actually learn the reality that everyone can have enough, but we're so in this mindset of just me, my family, my family, my family, you know, that it we really begin to think that way, right? If I have to share what I have or anything like that, then I won't have. But that's actually quite the opposite.
Mm.
And I think that becomes that we're sold trinkets, is what I like to call them. So even now, it's the holiday season, right? People are
Mm.
excited about Christmas. We get to spend that much more time with our family or friends. We get to, we've had a full year of working hard. So now we get to buy all these presents. Why not have
Right.
that every day? You know?
Right. Yeah, and it's so funny because I'm here in Mexico without family. I have some friends down here, right? But I mean, obviously, like there's still my family and friends back in Canada. And it's just a different experience for Christmas now. Like it's not about the gifts, and it's not about, I mean, yeah, we get together with friends and we get together and we do things, but it's not the same feeling of like the commercial, got a gift for somebody and gotta go to this party and bring oh, there's going to be a gift exchange. I mean, I had a party last week, and we did like a Secret Santa kind of thing with a game, and it was all fun and everything. But what was really cool is that they wanted people to like steal the gifts, right? And I guess they did this last year. And people were just so nice. They didn't want to steal from the other people. They're like, no, no, but they're like, I'm happy with the gift I got. So like, why would I want to like go steal from somebody else? Like, I'm happy with this. And so I think what it was is that everybody in the group bought something that they would love to receive, right? And so when everybody got something, they were just like they were so happy with what they got because they know like it wasn't something that just somebody went to the store and picked up at random, right? It was something that that person would love to receive. So even if you ended up with your own gift, you didn't care, right? Like where it's I think you go to some of these things where it's all like, oh, I got this thing. Oh. And here it was just so much more about the people and the community. And they actually had to put a rule in, like, okay, we're rolling this dice. So if it rolls this number, you have to trade with the person to your left, or you have to, steal a gift from somebody. Like, and they're like, and somebody even said, like, do I have to steal the gift? And they're like, yeah, you do.
Yeah, so that idea, the not idea, but the reality of community, and like even how it's different where you are, and what we can like take what's good from there, and like sharing those globally, and really incorporating that into our daily lives. I think that's really cool that you don't hear. I'll put it like this: you don't hear that much in America. Okay,
I
we're
don't think
going to
in
steal the
Canada
good we
either,
want. Okay.
Yeah. No, Canadians are like, as much as people globally think Canadians are very nice people, it's very much, there's a very much a me mentality too.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So, oh my gosh. So your kids, like, what do they think about all this?
I definitely noticed a shift. So our youngest is too young to remember anything different at this
Mhm.
point. She just turned 2, so she's verbal, but um we started when she was like 6 months or something, right? So she's too young, but our 4-year-old definitely remembers. So I mean, I was definitely the parent at the time. I was, doing things that were not giving as I want to receive, you know,
Mhm.
after work. I mean, and that's a lot of our world, really. I mean, being in that survival state, I would pick her up from school, rushing to pick her up, and then, she's crying at the end of the day. I'm angry. I would just shove the iPad in her face. What do you want to
Mhm.
watch? And just let her be, because then she's out of the way, and I can, fix dinner and prepare for the next day. And then it's an early morning, and when she's not doing what I want to do, really, yelling at her because she's not being compliant, when really, is that what's best for our kids? Is that what's best for us? you
Mhm.
know um and so thankfully, through this process, life has slowed down. It took a long time. I mean, it took probably at least a year, and even some I still struggle with, because I was programmed to think time is money. So
Mhm.
coming home and slowing down, especially with little ones that have no concept of time, money, like they have no concept of any of this stuff. So now she can tell, oh, mommy, I used to watch iPad, and we talk about it, and she's like, I was like, yeah, let's that's the other thing with kids. They know when we're not being honest. So if we're not being honest with them, even if they don't tell us, they'll know, and it can breed distrust with our parents when we're not actually honest. And so yeah, like I tell, like I didn't know any better, and I was tired, and I just wanted you to be quiet. Realistically, just be compliant. And the thing about that I'm learning is, number one, do we as adults walk around yelling at each other? Most times. Most times.
I'm like, some people do.
You're right. You're right. You're right. No. And why is that? Because it's not only is it not giving us what we want to receive, but if we want to have influence and persuade people, and it's not a way to do it. So why do I think as a parent it's okay, Um and so we talk a lot about those things, and even it's cool now because we're at a point where she'll tell me, "Mommy, you're yelling," and I'm like, "Okay, I do my self forgiveness," and it's cool too because I used to also think, and I told them this too, they were the reason I'm yelling. How crazy is this? You young kids, you're the reason I'm yelling. Like I've been on this earth 30 plus years longer than you have been. But you're the reason I'm yelling. I laugh at it now. But no, they're little, they're learning. They're not gonna know everything. Like learning takes time. The patience I've learning to develop starting with self, and learning to start to support myself to see, hey, it takes me time to learn. It's gonna take them time to learn. Things happen, and again, in reality over time. It's not Amazon next day delivery service, and we just If I say it, I have it right there. Like that's not reality. Um,
Mhm.
and so yeah, being able to have those conversations, in this moment, I really want to blame you because that's what I was taught to do. But when I'm really honest, I'm upset because I'm not. I view myself as incompetent to be able to influence and persuade you. So therefore, I'm projecting my anger onto you. Like that's really what it is. A lot of times when I'm yelling at my kids. And so taking a step back and learning, I can influence and persuade them. Let me work on this skill. And literally having these very conversations with them, just like we're talking about it now. And again, because of using Technotutor, they able to more so grasp, even if not fully yet, right? They're able to grasp more of that. And so it's really cool parenting in this way, which is very different than I was taught, at least.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's been a huge shift, and we talk about it. And another reality I want to bring about with that shift is let's not be dismissive of the fact that iPads for kids and for us adults are very entertaining, you know?
Mhm.
And another concept that develops from that is learning we can't live based upon our emotions and feelings. We need to do what's best. So, if I have if it's about literally we need to go to the store because it's gonna close or we have no food, or watching the TV, like in physical reality, like I need to we need to go to the store. We can't just do what we feel like doing or else we won't have food. You
Mhm.
So that's another huge thing we talk a lot about is feelings and emotions when is it best for us not to go to the store to eat today? No, we need our we need food. So, no, we're not gonna go jump on the trampoline or go outside and play right now because physically we need this food, right? So things like
Mhm.
that that's been a huge point as well.
Wow. And that's a great example of like just showing like how you could just break down like the emotion side of it and the reality of like, hey, this is what needs to happen and here's why. And like, but if my went by my emotions, I'd just be jumping on a trampoline.
Yeah, and it's so and it's crazy. Not I mean, I can say now it's crazy, but so much of my life has been that, like living with my emotions and not understanding when we live by our emotions, we actually end up hurting ourselves. So in this example, well, we don't have food. I'm hurting myself because now I'm not getting the nutrition I need. And then I'm hurting other people because especially, if we don't have the food we need, we tend to be more spiteful, right? Angry, as they say.
Yeah.
Um, you know, if you're a woman, it can affect your, soon to be kids or, there's so many effects, right? And so just not seeing the bigger picture of, oh, okay, I do have my feelings and emotions, not disregarding them, but what's best within this context? That's been a huge thing I've been learning and walking more in my own life.
Mm. I think that's really powerful to understand that. I think we're caught up in such a world of like hurry up, get it done yesterday mentality that we don't even check in anymore.
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
we're not checking in. Like, is this even best for me in this moment? Never mind anybody else, right?
Right. 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 Doesn't make sense. And sometimes it is like if it's just about to your point, the thing I really appreciate about doing what makes the most sense and like what's best in this moment. I mean, I'm not a fan of just eating junk food, but if that's all the food I have at the moment, then let me eat the junk. It's better than me not having food. Like just the common sense of just like what's like you said, like what's best for me in this moment.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things a lot of people maybe miss out on. Like when they think about uh helping others or making a difference in the world, they're maybe missing out on the fact that you do still need to take care of yourself.
Yes. Yes. If we're not here, how can we help?
Mm.
Absolutely. And there's also that component of being the added component I can say for myself now is, yes, looking out for self and still within the bigger context, right? If we're not well, how do we help other people, right? It's not just me for me's sake, but also for other people's sake, you know? So that's like the slight but big difference I can say for my own self
Mhm.
is because it's we can think about like the human body, we all need the heart to function. We all, we need our lungs to function. We all need, if we're each part of our body and using that analogy, right? We all
Mhm.
need each other at our best self. And so those things matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think, something I've even said to people who are very much about like service of others and volunteering, like, but to the point where they're burning out. And it's like, but you got to take care of yourself first. Because I even said to them, I said, you're no good to anyone else if you're sick.
Right? Exactly. Yes. And that sometimes is interesting. I know I've heard you talk about that more, a little bit more recently, where, when we are sick, when we do get to that point, I've been there recently too. The cool thing about it is you can really use it as an opportunity to have life slow down and to really
Mhm.
think about, assess ourselves, right? Why are we sick? Do we work too much? Like you said, are we burning out?
Mhm. Yeah. Giving ourselves that self-care that we need as well, right? Which is not selfish. It's like, and if it is selfish, then it's in a good way.
Exactly. Exactly. And ideally too, again, we in the Western culture, right?
Mhm.
Ideally, going to that burnout point, it's not just me, but it becomes us, like there's still more community. I can say, at least within the Western culture, we can definitely work on that communal aspect, so that we can lessen the load, like you were talking about, even within the community, right?
Mhm.
Um, that we're growing. It's, oh, I don't know how to do, for example, the women, just within the women alone, we have recipes that we share, it's just how can we all help each other and really on a bigger scale, learning, over time with even with our kids, ideally we have these communities and we're living with each other, and maybe one family takes care of breakfast one week and dinner another week, and instead of lessening the load of all the things that, especially within the Western culture, we've just taken on as we do it all, but it's not really um the best situation, right? We really could share a lot of those. The cool thing about the group that we have growing specifically here is, we really are learning, hey, like when we get these gatherings, everyone's going to contribute, and it really does lessen the load. I remember growing up, and not that this is even really a bad thing per se, but just to give this an example, for Christmas and Thanksgiving, I mean, it would be on that one family to produce not only the place, but like all the food. And sometimes
Mhm.
you want to do those things. I'm not. It's not knocking those. It's not knocking that, but it's to say, hey, like, but if I have that plus all these other things I'm trying to do, it's helpful to have everyone contributing their best dish and we
Mhm.
move on and do something else?
Mhm. Yeah, no, 100%. And I remember somebody in the women's group was they had a baby recently, and somebody else in the women's group went over and helped them for a week, and just like, and they were like getting mad at like, what are you doing? You're not allowed to wash the dishes. You're not allowed to do the laundry. Like, you sit down, you be with your baby, you rest, and you're doing nothing else. But I can't remember who that was. But I mean, that's just to go show like what community can actually do. And I think that's what we've lost a lot, and a lot of, I mean, in Mexico, they're still really great. They're community, they're family oriented, right? I think there's a lot of cultures that still are, but I think, like you said, in the Western world, we've moved away from community, and it's all about me, do it myself, and like my immediate family, and that's it, right? But I mean, in
Yes, yes.
Mexico, like when your mom or dad gets sick, they move in with you. Like, you live with your family. I mean, you take care of grandma, you take care of mom and dad. Like, everybody's under one household. It's just kind of, that's what you do. Like, your sister is out of a job, she comes and moves in with you. Like, whatever it is, like, you just support each other. And because they would do the same for you.
It makes sense. It
Yeah.
really does. It makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could definitely learn more of that within within definitely the Western world.
I don't know how we got to this. Like, I hate my family so much that I have to move out as soon as I'm 18, and I don't know how we got there, but
Yeah, it's interesting because excuse me, my especially my dad, he was very big on don't leave the house until you get married. But even that, when I did it, was like weird. You
yeah.
know, they were like, "Why don't you?" There's nothing to rush to do. You know, like the bills won't go away. There's really excuse me. Yeah, they're and within that, I even there are those different stories within the group I've heard of meeting families, and they're like 4 or 5. They live in a mansion, but there are 4 or 5 people living in this mansion,
Mm,
and they all, share the weight of contributing to this household. And within other communities I'm aware of, the women, like I said, they'll cook for, multiple families. They'll make dinner for the week. Maybe they don't live together, but so there are aspects where we can really grow in that area of community as a whole. So these are
mm,
I'm happy that we're talking about this because it's making me think more so how can I give and create that which is that which I would want myself, and I do want myself.
mm. Yeah. I think, yeah, we really need to learn again what community is, and maybe for some of us it means we actually have to travel somewhere and live somewhere else for 3 months or 6 months just to really experience like what does community mean somewhere else, and what is the culture like there. Like maybe that's something we all need to challenge ourselves with. It's just like, can I go somewhere for 3 months or 6 months and live somewhere else and really experience that culture and see what it's like, because maybe there's something that we learn from it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like if we could, and having that purpose, right? Because it's different. So many times now, again, going back to the whole entertainment feelings thing, it's oh, I want to do this, because I want to feel good. Like really, what I'm learning that is, I want to travel. A lot of times, people you'll hear people say, I want to travel the world. I'm trying to like find this feeling, right? Um,
Mm,
when if we know our purpose is, to give as we want to receive, it's like, oh, I'm traveling here to learn how do they as a community function in a way that I can bring that back to where I'm from. So that's a really cool purpose to have within your travel, and not just
mm,
making it about, oh, I want this feeling. And I mean, let's be honest, when we're doing those things, it's because we're trying to escape something. And that's the cool thing about this group too, is we're really looking to practically fix that which you're trying to escape. Right. And
mm,
so not being able to face ourselves. Well, why is that? It's because again, this whole survival thing. Well, how do we change the world we live in so we don't have to just be in the survival phase? And we really can expound upon who we are based upon the environment we have as well. So our environment can more so be a reflection of the bigger life that we are versus just I got to go to this job and make this money. Like we're so much more than that.
mm.
And yeah, I'm really I really look forward to learning more and incorporating that more within, not just for me, but within the community itself.
Yeah. You said something in there and I wanted to come back to it, and then I just got caught up in everything else you were saying. Oh, purpose. You said something about purpose and finding purpose. Um, I want you to talk a little more about that, or what that means to you, maybe.
In terms of purpose.
Hmm.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Well, I mean, you were mentioning something about being able to have your purpose and finding your purpose, and within the community, and so I think that's something maybe a lot of people don't even understand or have a thought about.
Yes, I think yeah. So I can say for myself, I was always wondering, like I, I thought my purpose for so long, and I think this is huge in the Western culture, or maybe the world in general, right? I need to figure out how to make a lot of money so, I can do all the things I want to do, right?
Mm,
And what I've learned is that within that, again, because I'm so self-centered and focused on me and my family, that it's me actually being counterproductive to what I really want. Because in order to be selfish, I'm creating selfishness in the world. So even if, let's say, even if, right, I get to that point of, the top 1% income earner, but I have to have all the police around me, you know, um, no one likes me because in a lot of ways, to be that top 1%, you have to be very ruthless in the
mm,
current society, right?
mm,
So that's not what I want, right? So really within that, fundamentally what I'm learning is what we're all really looking for is what our purpose really is giving as we want to receive, to create a world that's best for all. Because then, once we know I have all the stuff I need, you have all the stuff you need, we all want to travel, go somewhere, then it's and we know how to, again, not just financially, but also hone in on, oh, these are how I have the best relationships. This is how I have, um, I'm so stable within myself. When we have all those things met, that's really what we want. And so, really and truly, I'm learning the purpose of life is to give as you want to receive, and giving. And when we're not giving, again, when we are in that fear state, that also creates, disease, discomfort,
mm,
anxiety, this like continuous search. Maybe I can travel, but then I'm always fearful. What if I lose my job? Like, because we're actually creating the jail that we're in, if that makes
mm,
sense, by not understanding the bigger picture. And so when we all understand, oh, if we all help each other and we do that, that's actually, the purpose of life, and actually how we actually all get what we want in that
mm,
way. And it's not to be rosy about it, because to do that is very uncomfortable. You know, um, it's very uncomfortable and quite frankly hard,
mm,
right? To sit here and reflect on self, right? That can be a very scary thing. Um, but it actually produces what we want, right? So
mm,
for example, it hurts my own self. Like when I look at myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, I am so selfish. Like it makes me sick. I hate that I'm this selfish. I'm working through it, but if I want to have something different, I have to really assess where I am in order to
mm,
move forward to the next step, right?
mhm,
And really knowing that, and actually with with this tool and community, being able to see it in practical reality happen, that's the difference. I think so many times the reason we think that, well, I have to be selfish, or I have to continue doing things the way I think I should do them, is because things haven't worked for us over time. And so then we just go back to what feels good. And that's something that's very easy to do. So without this tool and community, I could see myself completely just continuing to be selfish because, well, maybe I've tried this, that, and something else, but it didn't make me feel good, and I'm still in the same position or worse. So I'm just going to continue to be selfish because, hey, at least I feel comfortable, you know,
mm,
you know. Um, but really learning, okay, within my purpose of doing what's best, I can practically see how my life is changing, how I'm changing, how that affects those around me, and how they're changing, and um, and really when we all can understand and help each other to see, oh, our purpose is, giving as we want to receive, then going back to a question you asked earlier, like the world really can be different.
mm. Wow. I and I think that's such a powerful thing to know your purpose. And I think that's maybe one thing that a lot of the younger people are missing right now is not only do they not know self, but they don't know a purpose either. right? So I think that's one of the maybe biggest struggles right now that I see.
Yes, absolutely. I was talking to a young lady last night, and a lot of times our young kids don't have purpose and know what their purpose is because again, they were just taught survival. So, she's fresh out of school, she just started what's considered a great job at a great company, and she's really having this reality check of this is not even what I want.
Mm.
And, you know, on the outside looking in, so I can totally see people saying, "Oh, this is great." And I'm saying, "Oh, I know I've been there too." I know so many, I'll specifically say women,
Mm.
we get out there and we're like, I actually want to be home, but we feel stuck, right? In this place where, well, now I have to make so much money to do something. But really, and that's why I go back to at home, if we start from the beginning, helping our kids to see, hey, um, these are the realities of how life works. And your purpose is to give as you want to receive. And so with when and if you want kids, what does that look like, you creating a life where you have to go to work every day? Is that what you want to do? Will that even be a possibility with AI coming?
Mm-hmm.
Depending on what you want to do. Um, so really having those real conversations, that's the other thing I really, really appreciate, the group and the community, because and Technotutor, because it's really help to open up that true education. And, when I think about education, that really is what it means versus what we're taught in school, which is like, oh, here's, you know, US history, and here's European history, and here's, a little bit of math, a little bit of science. But we leave not knowing so many things, how to balance a checkbook, how to do your taxes, like those real things, how to grow your own food, how to treat people, how to deal with our
Mm-hmm.
emotions, how to have a
Yeah.
baby. Right? I talk to our girls all the time about, what is even childbirth? Like I remember when we were pregnant with expecting our first child, I knew nothing about childbirth. Why? Like every person that's here has been birthed. Like, why is this not common sense among even the men? Like, it makes no sense, And so we really, when we don't know our purpose, and when our education system is funneled around not knowing your purpose, and for lack of better words, causing a lot of confusion about being focused on the thing that will get you more confused, which is self and money, and just focusing on money, you know,
Mm.
um, that really does. That's why I think we have so many young people, number one, who do not want to get married, right? Not only the systems, how they can make money, but then also like the life I was told I would have, maybe with my
Mhm.
generation, go to school, get good grades, then you'll have this great life. Not true.
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
Like these reality checks where it's cool now, we can talk to the girls about, hey, like this is the reality. But they're still they're still like kids, but really helping them understand from a young age, really how do we create a world where it's like, you have what you want. It really is knowing your purpose, giving as you want to receive. If we did that, then all the things that we now stress about as an adult, we wouldn't have those stressors. And so
Yeah.
yeah, that having a purpose and knowing it at a young age, that is game changing, to your point.
Mhm. And I think that's, I mean, to your point, it's really is a big part of the family and community who impact that, right? I mean, of course, your kids are learning from you and from it, whatever situation they're in, whether they're going to school or activities or, neighbors, friends, family, whatever, right? They're all going to be impacted by those people, their beliefs, their way of being. And if a person has grown up in a situation like we have, where it's like go to school, get a job, you know, build a career, um, you're not really given a chance to figure out, like, one, who you are, and two, like, what is my purpose in life, and does this really fulfill what I'm doing? Does this fulfill the actual purpose, the reason I'm here?
Absolutely right. It's all about survival. Like that's, and the cool thing is too, Cat, within this is um I'm learning that we can only give that which we have, right? So a lot of times, and I found this in my own self, like, being angry, like, why wasn't I told these things, or like blaming people, but really people can only give what they have. Like,
Mm,
my parents and other people I'm around can only give what they have, you know? And that's why it's cool for us to really um help educate those that were around, and share this information with people, because so many people are stuck even as an adult, you know
mhm.
and even if maybe you are a parent and you still have to be in that survival mode, right? I gotta go to work, da, da, da. This community and tool is so powerful to where you can still even influence your kids to have a different life, and it really, that is an actual reality and possibility, which I think so many of us, we're jaded to think that nothing's gonna get better.
Mhm.
Where I am is where I am, and that's just what it is. And we just go along with the flow of that, when we can have so much more.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I think I mean, that's something you just touched on with the tools, is that being able, even if you are in that, I have to go to work and have this job and do these things, you can change that situation, which I honestly, I didn't really understand until maybe more recently. And I've been using the tools and for a while. But I mean, I've gone through where like I've had jobs and I've gotten laid off, and things have happened. And every single time that's happened, like because of the tools, it's been less of confronting every single time. Like where, I mean, it used to be I would just be an absolute wreck and I would just be bawling, and because I was giving my all and it wasn't good enough, and it was, and then you just get laid off, and or something happens with the company, and I was taking it very personally. And then and then it would happen another time, and I would have a pity party, I would say, for myself for like a day, and then I was like, okay, I'm good. There's a new opportunity. There's a reason this happened, and there's something better coming along now. But getting from those points now, where it's like I had I'm on a contract recently, and it just didn't feel like I was supposed to be moving into this other, not different role, but like under a different structure, I guess, with the company, right? And then I got sick, and then I came back, and then everything blew up in my face, and it was like, okay, now you're done. And I was like, at first, I was kind of like, huh. But then I thought, well, it wasn't really, I was doing the best I could in the situation, which was not a great situation, right? But because I had the tools and being able to be really stable, I was able to be a really great and effective in my position and role, and not be overly affected by what was going around and by the other people. And so when this actually came up, I was like, you know what? This is probably a good thing, because there's something really good coming on. And now I've got another contract that, I mean, I'm just starting with it, but it's just like, it's everything I actually wrote down, and in technology, like what would I like in the next role I do, right? And it's like ticking off like almost every single one of those things so far, and I'm just starting it. So yeah, just going back to having, like, even if you're in the situation where you need to work, because and it's maybe not 100% fulfilling your purpose, you could still do it powerfully with the tools, and then still be able to do your purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah, that you bring up a great point. Something that's come up a lot recently is, emotional stability happens before financial stability. And when we to that, talking about what we've been talking about, that sounded horrible. And going along with what we've been saying, when we really understand we can be who we've always wanted to be, we understand that comes through adversity, right?
Mm,
That comes through learning from different things to better ourselves. And when we have that more clear mindset, the stability and understanding that, and the confidence, because every time that something happens, like you're saying, you're growing and learning, and you're actually seeing that in practical reality. So you develop that confidence, right?
mm,
And so many of us don't have, we weren't supported with that growing up. And so you're right, the tool in the community immensely help with that. Wherever you are, you can always get started, and you can have this bigger goal, and within the bigger goal have these little goals to where, over time you're more emotionally stable, you're more financially stable, and those things grow over time. So I think, yeah, what you're saying is very, very right on. It doesn't matter where you are. um Stability comes, and that when you're of a sound mind, you can actually see what's going on and see what's the best thing for you to do. And the more you do that over time, the more confidence you develop and grow. And the more, therefore, you're literally creating the world that you actually want. And so you bring up a great point.
Yeah. Um, and I'm kind of curious, like, I mean, I know, like, you talked a bit about what your life was like before, but what was the biggest difference you found, like, from having before you joined Self Perfection and getting the tools, and then actually starting to use them? Like, what's some of the biggest difference in your life that you saw?
Yes. So stability with my husband, my kids, myself. That's been huge. So um as a parent, I've touched on a little bit, right? It helped with me knowing, number one, what to do as a parent. My kids don't come with a manual, but really there is some training that we need to learn about how we learn and develop ourselves, therefore helping our kids to grow and develop and to become the best selves, right? So literally, like I said before, talking to them, hey, I yelled at you. I'm sorry. Let me do some self-forgiveness. Let me work on, some self-commitment statements within that to change that behavior. So literally learning how to change behavior. Um, Within that example, um, with with my husband, not blaming him so much. Oh my gosh, Cat, the blame, the blame. I would blame him for everything in my head, not realizing, you know what? I'm blaming and angry about something that really I need to take responsibility for, right?
Mm.
So, um, that's been huge because I realize now, for example, I haven't been the best communicator. So instead of just saying, hey, can you do, grab X, Y, and Z, having all this back chat in my head, like, well, why didn't he just know to do it? Because so many times we as women are taught, like, oh, our men should just know. And that's not real. Like, no one knows our thoughts, right? And the other thing within that, they're not women. So, it doesn't make sense to view them in that way, right? And
Right.
um and and truly having more within that, within learning, oh, I can develop more in these ways, having more compassion for him as well, right?
Mm.
Um that's been pivotal. And to be quite frank, I also want to take that anger and blame to a point where, as much as I wanted to be and said I was committed, like I could completely see how I would have at some point left my marriage because of the anger and blame, because not seeing, oh, I'm actually not doing what I need, the best I can be. I'm not the best I can be. I'm not doing what I can do, and not taking that responsibility. Over time, I could see just blaming to the point of leaving,
Mm.
and how many marriages do we hear about today? I mean, there's like a 50% divorce rate, right? Where
Mhm.
this happens, and now I see with this tool, like, oh no, like things can be, again, very different. And going back to another question you asked earlier, how does that change things? Well, if we have more united families, doesn't that create a more united world, right? Um, and then personally, seeing what I've seen the changes. For example, now, there's things I've always said I wanted to do that now I'm actually doing. So the fishing example,
Mhm.
I've always wanted to learn how to do hair. So I'm learning how to do my kids' hair, I've always wanted to learn how to cook different meals. So now I'm like stretching myself and like learning how to cook the meals. I'm learning how to sew, like really, and like teaching the girls how to sew.
Mm.
I'm learning to um read more and read different types of books. I've always said I wanted to do that, but I have never done it. So all these things on my list of the reality of who I am versus who I want to be. um, that's more so come who I want to. I'm inching closer to who I want to be versus who I was in those specific ways. And and also another thing I've another huge point I'm walking is avoiding avoiding reality. So and
Mhm.
avoiding conflict in particular. But now I'm learning, when we avoid conflict, starting with self, because if I avoid conflict with others, it's because I'm first starting with myself. It's because I'm going back to that fear point. I'm scared of something, so I'm not being honest with myself. But now I'm learning I'll never become who I want to become if I'm not first honest with myself. you know?
Mhm.
It's like I can't get from point A to point B if I first don't assess what I have with where I am at point A. And again, the difference with this versus some might say, well, that's all self-development. And no, the difference is that this actually creates a change. And so again, these things that I'm doing now, even with I was taught this is really my programming cat. I was taught in this Western world of privilege, if I can't do something quickly, pick it up quickly, learn it quickly, that means I'm incompetent to do it. That
Mhm.
means I need to outsource.
Mhm.
So that's been a huge part of my programming. So these things I've always wanted to do, I've never done because if I didn't get it immediately, I said, "Oh, I'm stupid, I'm incompetent, I can't learn it." And that
Mhm.
doesn't make any sense. Because as we've talked about a lot within this interview, learning takes time. Learning, feel your way to success. If you want anything in your life, like yesterday we went fishing and it was so cool. I'm grateful. We didn't catch any fish, but I was so grateful because number one, again, within this artificial society, we think, oh, we want something that happens immediately. No, like the fish in the store, like it took them a lot of time and effort to get it there. So we're learning
Mhm.
that, right? And also within anything that we do in life, a baby doesn't come out the womb knowing how to walk and run. Like that
Mhm.
takes time. There's a lot of failure in that, but we don't quit. And so it's so cool being able to have that lesson, you know, I'm walking that my own self. And then especially teaching it to the girls, because when they get frustrated, upset, they made a mistake. It's like, hey, did you quit on learning how to walk or run? Like, look at you now. Like, look at
Mhm.
what you've done. So we should never quit on ourselves, no matter, no matter what. And we can, especially with this tool, we are the solution. And that may take time, and that's okay, you know?
Mhm.
And having that real, like, reality check, for lack of better words. And so those are definitely areas of my life where, um, the tool in the community has made a huge difference. And knowing how to teach the girls, that's huge. So when we first started, for example, with Myra, our oldest, she's 4 now, but she was 3 and she was really struggling just with, like, learning her letters. And so that's been cool to see her now, now she knows her letters, and now we're doing small words, and she'll be reading soon, and it's it's been life changing. All I can say is if you're not here, come here, come here, come here, because really, we really do have the solution for whatever it is, whoever you want to be, whatever it is that you want to learn in life. Like it's here.
Mhm. Yeah. And I love that you shared that it takes time to learn because I think you're right. So many of us forget that, like, hey, it took me more than a minute to learn how to walk and run. you know?
Right. Right, yes. It's crazy cat. So I remember these memories. I mean, I've always wanted to learn how to cook, and I for whatever reason, my little child mind, I always remember being in the kitchen with my mom and, again, that whole survival thing. So again, learning in the big picture. She's like, "You're doing it too slow, I'm gonna do it." Or "You're doing it wrong, so I'm gonna do it." And how that really, I mean, it's taken a toll on me that I'm really having to walk back now and catch myself to say, even when the girls are doing stuff in the kitchen and it's like, well, maybe it's not the way I would do it, but they're learning. Like that
Mhm.
is huge for me because again, my way I'm programmed is like well, you're not doing it right, don't do it at all. But that makes no sense because in order to do it right, we have to do it wrong a lot. You know, like that's just the reality of something, you know. And yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and you're right, fail forward. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that's like, I know for a fact my family could take that lesson because the expectation there is like, oh, well, you're failing. So like you're just, you did this, you made a mistake and you're a failure. It's like,
yeah,
well,
that's been me. That's been
I
me my whole
learned from that
life.
mistake and I'm moving forward.
Right? Yeah, that has been me my whole. But you know, it also it makes like think about our world that we live in. Like it makes sense to think that way because some people, you know, there are some jobs where you have, and you make one mistake, and if it's too big, they're like, bye bye, you know. And so, I mean, but it's not reality. And when you talk to people who have made a lot of money in our world. That's one of the biggest things. They're like, get used to failing. And but how many of us don't have that mindset? Like it's a scarcity mindset. And if I make a mistake, it's like the end of the world. But really, it's the beginning. Like just learn from it. You
Mhm.
know, not saying go jump off a cliff. You may not recover from that, but you know, incrementally support yourself to learn how to do something, right?
Mhm. Yeah, like,
and
yeah, bad idea. Don't jump off the cliff. Okay.
right, don't do that. But yeah, incrementally supporting ourselves to be like, okay, how can I learn this? And yeah, that has made a huge difference in my life, Kat. That and again, it seems so basic, but it was missed. It was missed for me. So yeah.
Yeah, that was missed for me too. That wasn't just your learning, that was my learning too. It's like you gotta work hard and do it right.
Right, right, right. Yeah. Yeah, and think about the stress and anxiety and this this perfect trying to be perfect, but then like it's not even it's setting myself up for failure, right? Because
Mhm,
it's not realistic. And so it's like creating I learned this is a great way to put it, Kat. Self-sabotage.
mm,
It's been a life of self-sabotaging myself.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. I hear you on that one. Yep, 100%.
Yeah. And so then, you know, we're all or a lot of us are walking that cycle, if we're really honest, probably all of us in some way. You know,
Mm.
are we surprised at the role we have, you know?
No, gosh, no. I mean, yeah, when you start really taking a look at things, you go, "Wow, no wonder we're at where we are." Like, yeah. Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah. And you know, learning that we're really starting to see the effect with kids, you know, the obesity rates, the anxiety rates, the suicidal rates. That is very humbling, you know, when we really take a look at it. And the cool thing though is that we all can make a difference and we can all start with ourselves by making a difference because the more stable we are, you know, the more even if I meet someone on the street or a child that's not mine, the more we can help others to also be more stable, you know?
Mhm,
And it's, you know, one plus one. That's how things change. And with AI that will know people better than they know themselves, it's even much more important to understand who we are and the best version of ourselves because it will be easy for so many, especially our kids. Oh my gosh. I mean, think about this, Cat. If you were to start out with a robot from a young age or artificial intelligence from a young age, and you don't rely, you know, you haven't developed that self confidence or self reliance,
mhm,
and it's told you everything your whole life, and now you're like, let's say you lived on the earth 30, 40 years. I mean, are you really you or are you what the robot programmed you to be? You know, it's it's that's where we're headed. And
mhm,
that's very humbling because like we've talked about the world, one of the reasons I really want, we've chosen the homeschool currently is because, and will continue, is because look at the world around us. Like that's what we're subjecting ourselves and our kids to if we're starting them at this young age with this artificial intelligence and then just letting them use it and until they get older. It's the world that we live in. And is that what we want? I
Mhm.
mean, it's very humbling.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and we can see the effects of that real time right now, like with the kids and what they're learning. I remember, who was it? Mare or somebody was telling me, or Drake maybe, that like he was tutoring some kids in the math. Like the math that they're being taught right now is ridiculous. Like how to do long division. You just go, how did you even get to that to do this? Like this is the most backwards way of trying to do math. Like I mean, maybe you're getting the answer at some point, but boy, is that an effort. And like, that's not the right way to, like, I mean, yes, we talk about there's a right and wrong, like, but that is not the right way to do math. Like, but this is like based on, like, I don't know, I guess them getting taught like through computers and stuff. And computers decided this was an easier way to do math, which is not.
Right. Right. And just imagine if we've outsourced our thought to this computer our whole life. Because Trump just signed an order for kids, in elementary school to start, incorporating the AI as much as possible. I mean, that is,
Mm,
you know, humbling. Is that what we want? That's all I can say. And not that it can't be used as a resource, but
mm,
there is, like we've been talking about this whole interview, there is something to deciding you're going to learn something and learning it and knowing you can do it and developing, really within that, realizing your purpose. But if everything, if, the AI is my friend within my toys, whenever I know 2 plus 2, forget learning the long division. Let me just ask the AI if I've done that my whole life.
mm.
I know there are kids these days that look, in their, 20s asking, should I marry this person? And they put all the stuff in the chat GPT and, you know, I mean, that's where we're headed. That's where we
Wow.
are in a lot of ways.
Gosh.
How
That
did we get
reminds,
here? How did we
I
get
don't
here
know.
from the payphone?
Well, and before that, it would have been writing a letter, and before that, it would have been walking over to the person's house, right? So,
Yeah, and not that these things aren't useful, but it's again, what's the starting point? And that's something. And these are questions that within a lot of outside of this group, I don't hear parents having. To be quite
mm,
frank,
yeah.
I don't hear them. It's and that's very that 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 for us is something that I'm so grateful for this group for and to share it with other families because for whatever we get on the rabbit hole as to why, but not the rabbit hole, but we could talk about why. But at the end of the
Mhm,
day, it's a discussion that needs to be had in every household. Every household should be having this discussion and coming up with a solution because as much as we think that the top 1% controls things, like we all have a voice too that we can use to change things. And
mm,
when we're just continuously outsourcing and not knowing our own worth, as we've talked about as well, it's easy to just say, "Oh, it's someone else out there." But no, we can.
mm,
There's something we can do.
mhm. Yeah, and the more we put it on others and blame others, the easier it is for us to just fall into that trap, right? Of not really knowing for ourselves and thinking for ourselves and learning for ourselves.
Yes, yes, and it's yes, and it's easy to do that. And and that's why this process is so cool because you really begin to see how we've been trained and programmed to do that, with so much of our life. And
Mm,
how when we learn the opposite, it's so freeing. Like you really can create what you want. And that's the coolest part. But so many of us, we don't even have that mindset. Like they're gonna hear me say this and be like, "This chick is loony." Like, you know what I mean? Like that is not possible. Like you don't know, and I'm like, oh, but you don't know. You don't know who you
Mhm.
are. You know. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, I know we can go on forever and talk, but I also know your kids are going to be up soon, if they're not up already, which I'm surprised, honestly. They haven't come and said hello. I thought they would be like wandering around by now, but
It was a late night. It was a late night. So
oh, okay. I mean, they'd be more than welcome to come say hello. Other kids have been been in and been part of it. So, but before I let you go back to the family, I want to ask you, if you went back to yourself at 10 years old, what advice would you say to yourself?
hmm, you don't have to be so selfish. There is a way, and that actually makes more sense not to be selfish. And life is about truly giving as you want to receive. Like that's yeah. That's what I was telling myself.
Awesome. I love it.
And don't be afraid of making mistakes. Like that's part of life. That's how we learn.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true. So, do you have any last pieces of advice or any other things that you want to share right now before you get going with your family? And I know the girls will be up running around soon.
Yeah. Join the group. Like seriously, if you really find yourself in a situation where, you know, you fall into the camp of I'm really not who I want to be. Like if I'm really being honest, like seriously, this is not something else where you just try. Because I've done a lot of things. Trust me. Yeah, I've done a lot of different things. Tried a lot of different things, but really and truly, this is what you're looking for. That's what I would say. Um, and and once you join, if it's not, find me. Okay, we'll talk about it. But yeah, no, it really is. And so I would encourage. I mean, we really can make the world the way we want it. We really can create the world that we want. And at the end of the day, if there's any, especially for, when we look at our world, if there's a child going hungry, is this really the world that we want to leave for the future generations? How can we really know our family, our kids are okay if there's one child that's going hungry? We really we cannot know that our kids will be okay unless
Mm.
that is fixed, you know? Um, and so within our day to day, really consider how we can all come together and change that. And this group is really the only one I found that's proactively doing that. And I've been looking for a long time. And so I'd say, come join us.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Lou-Trice. I've really enjoyed having you here today. And I know we're going to chat a lot more. And maybe we'll come back and do another conversation at another point. But thank you. I appreciate your time today.
Yes, thank you, Kat. Have a good one.